Listen carefully, brother. Most men are sitting in a burning house thinking it's just a little warm. There are certain words a woman uses that aren't just words. They are confessions. Confessions about how she truly feels about you, how she really sees your future together, and exactly how much you matter to her. The problem isn't that men don't hear these words. The problem is that men hear them and then immediately start translating them into something softer, something more hopeful, something that doesn't require them to make a hard decision. They think she was just tired. They think she's been stressed. They think if I love her harder, she'll come around. But here's the psychological truth about women that most men never get told. When a woman has already emotionally disconnected from a relationship, her words shift. They become careless. They become sharp. They stop protecting your feelings because she has stopped protecting the relationship. This video isn't about teaching you to resent women. Not at all. It's about teaching you to read the language beneath the language, because women communicate in layers, and the men who understand those layers never get blindsided. Today, you're going to discover 5 specific statements that women make when they've already decided the relationship doesn't have a future. These aren't angry outbursts. These aren't random frustrations. These are psychological signals wrapped inside everyday sentences. And once you know how to read them, you'll never sit in a burning house again thinking it's just warm. Here's what most men were never taught. A woman doesn't leave a relationship all at once. She leaves in silence first. She disconnects emotionally while still standing right next to you. She pulls back mentally before she ever packs a bag, and the only warning she gives you happens in the words she chooses. Men miss it every single time. Not because they're blind, because they're hoping. And hope, when pointed in the wrong direction, is one of the most dangerous things a man can carry. So let's break down these 5 statements. Let's understand the psychology underneath each one. And let's talk about what a man with actual self-respect does when he hears them. Because here's the thing about walking away. Most men think it's a sign of giving up. But in reality, it's the most powerful psychological move a man can make. When you remove your presence from someone who was taking it for granted, you trigger something inside them that your staying never could. But more importantly, you protect something inside yourself that no woman, no relationship, and no heartbreak should ever be allowed to destroy: your sense of worth, your peace, your future. Let's begin. Number 1. I've been fine on my own this whole time. She doesn't always say it with anger. Sometimes she says it almost proudly, casually, like she's simply stating a fact. But psychologically, this sentence is loaded. When a woman tells you she's been completely fine entirely on her own this whole time, she is communicating something very precise. She is telling you that your presence in her life has not changed her life. You haven't added to her world. You haven't become part of her foundation. You are, in her own words, additional, optional, removable without consequence. Now here's where men make the critical mistake. They hear this and they try to justify themselves. They start listing things they've done, ways they've contributed, moments they showed up. But that response completely misses the point. The sentence was never about facts. It was about feelings. And the feeling she's communicating is this: I don't feel dependent on you in any emotional way. I don't feel like losing you would change my life. And women don't say that to men they're building with. They say it to men they've already categorized as temporary. Here's the deeper psychology. A woman who is genuinely invested in a relationship develops what psychologists call emotional interdependence. She starts thinking in terms of we. Her plans include you. Her future includes you. Her comfort is connected to your presence. But the moment she begins speaking in pure I language, especially when defending her independence from you specifically, she has already rebuilt the walls she took down when she first let you in. She's not becoming independent. She's becoming independent from you. That distinction is everything. A man who truly knows his value doesn't argue this point. He doesn't try to remind her how much she needed him last Tuesday. He recognizes the signal for what it is. She has emotionally relocated. And his job is not to chase her back inside a space she's already left. His job is to respect himself enough to stop standing at a door that she's quietly closing. When she tells you she's been fine alone, believe every single word. and then decide whether you want to be with a woman who sees your love as optional. Number 2, you always make everything so complicated. Pay close attention to this one because it doesn't sound like a red flag at first. It sounds like a complaint. It sounds like a frustration. It sounds like something couples say during rough patches. But there's a very specific psychological pattern that separates a normal argument from this statement being a genuine warning sign, and the difference is in the repetition and the direction. When a woman starts consistently labeling you as the complicated one, she is doing something very deliberate, whether she knows it or not. She is reframing the entire relationship so that you become the problem. Not the situation, not the communication gap, not the circumstance. You. Your feelings become complicated. Your concerns become dramatic. Your needs become exhausting. And once she has established that framing in her mind, every time you express yourself, she has a ready-made response. There you go again, making it complicated. Here's what this reveals about her psychology. She has stopped trying to understand you. Understanding requires effort, patience, and a genuine desire to meet someone in their emotional reality. But when she replaces understanding with labeling, she's telling you she no longer has the desire to put in that effort. Your emotional world has become a burden to her rather than a place she wants to visit. Think about what this does to a man over time. He starts self-editing. He stops bringing his real thoughts to the relationship. He practices what he's going to say before he says it, trying to make it simpler, cleaner, less likely to get that reaction. And slowly he disappears inside the relationship. He becomes a quieter, more guarded, lonelier version of himself while technically still being in a relationship. That is not partnership. That is emotional isolation disguised as commitment. And the cruelest part is that she will eventually say he became too distant, not remembering that she charged him a price every time he tried to be close. A man who respects his own mind doesn't keep simplifying himself for someone who already decided he was too much. You are not too much. You have simply been with someone whose emotional capacity isn't large enough to hold what you offer. That's not your failure. That's information. Number 3, I just think we want different things. Out of all 5 statements, this one is the most rehearsed, which means by the time she says it to you, she's been thinking it for a while, maybe weeks, maybe months. She didn't arrive at this sentence spontaneously. She arrived at it after a long private conversation she had with herself, where she already concluded that you two are heading in different directions. You're just now getting the edited version. We want different things is the most socially acceptable exit line in the history of relationships. It puts the ending on neutral ground. It removes blame. It sounds mature and thoughtful. But stripped of all its politeness, it means one thing. I have made a decision about my life, and you are not in it. And here's the psychological layer most men never see. When she says, we want different things, she usually already knows exactly what she wants. The ambiguity isn't about her future. The ambiguity is about how much of the truth she wants to tell you. Men respond to this statement by trying to negotiate their desires. I can change what I want. Tell me what you need. Let's figure this out. But this is the wrong response entirely, because the statement was never an invitation to problem solve. It was a notification. She's not asking you to bridge the gap. She's informing you that in her mind, the gap is already too wide. There is something deeply important every man needs to understand about this moment. A woman who wants a future with you fights to align your visions. She says, we need to talk about where we're both heading. She doesn't announce incompatibility. She searches for compatibility because she's invested in finding it. But when she says you want different things, she stopped searching. She looked at the map, saw you going separate directions, and chose her road. She's just being somewhat gentle about telling you she isn't choosing yours. The self-respecting response isn't to chase her down her road. It's to walk yours confidently, because somewhere ahead on your path is someone who looks at the same direction you're heading and says, that's exactly where I want to go too. Number 4, I've been giving so much and I'm just exhausted. Now this one requires real psychological nuance, because on the surface, it sounds like she's saying she's been trying too hard, like she's the devoted one who ran out of fuel. But pay attention to the full dynamic here, because the truth is often the complete opposite of what this sentence implies. When a woman who has been emotionally checked out, who has been distant, cold, or passive inside the relationship suddenly frames herself as the one who has been giving too much, it is a psychological pivot. She is rewriting the emotional history of the relationship to justify the exit she's already planning. Instead of acknowledging she withdrew, she positions herself as the one who gave so much she burned out. This protects her from guilt. It makes the ending feel like self-preservation rather than abandonment. Here's what the psychology shows us. Women who are genuinely exhausted from giving too much in a relationship don't usually announce it this way. They ask for adjustments. They communicate what they need. They say, I feel like I've been carrying more than my share. Can we talk about balance? That's what a woman says when she wants to fix something. But when she says she's exhausted in a way that has a finality to it, in a way that doesn't come with a request for change, it's not a complaint. It's a closing statement. What she's really communicating is that she has already mentally accounted for everything she believes she's given, whether or not it matches your experience of events, and she's decided the account is closed. She doesn't want to renegotiate the terms. She wants permission to stop showing up, and she's phrasing it in a way that makes her the victim of her own generosity. Men who hear this often immediately absorb the guilt. They say, I'm so sorry, tell me what you need, I'll do better. But that response hands her the exact narrative she was constructing. You just confirmed that she was the giver and you were the taker. And now, when the relationship ends, that's the story that sticks. A man with clarity in this moment doesn't absorb guilt that isn't his. He asks a simple question, not out loud necessarily, but in his own mind. Have I actually been taking? Have I been present or absent? And if the honest answer is that he has shown up, cared, and tried, then this isn't about him at all. It's about her chosen story. Number 5. Let's just see where things go. This is possibly the most psychologically dangerous statement on this entire list, because it sounds like the absence of pressure. It sounds relaxed, free, even romantic. Let's just enjoy this. Let's not overthink it. Let's see where things go. But for a man who has been genuinely investing in a relationship, who has been planning, building, and imagining a future, this sentence is devastating, because it means she isn't. Let's see where things go is what a woman says when she has no destination in mind with you. She's not building, she's browsing. You are not a commitment she's made. You are an experience she's having until something more certain comes along, or until she feels certain enough to leave entirely. This is the statement of someone who has one foot inside the relationship and one foot already testing the ground outside it. Here's the deeper psychological truth. Women who are genuinely falling for someone, who are genuinely excited about a future, do not speak in open-ended probabilities. They speak in plans, even subtle ones. We should travel somewhere next year. You'd love my family. I was thinking about that thing you said last month. Those are the sentences of someone who is mentally placing you inside her future. But let's see where things go places you in a waiting room. You're not in her future yet. She's deciding if you ever will be. And the cruelest version of this phrase is when it comes after months of what felt like a real relationship, because it means she has been reevaluating quietly while you were building loudly. You were decorating a house she wasn't sure she wanted to live in, and now she's telling you the lease isn't signed yet. Maybe it won't be. Some men respond to this with patience. They give her time. They back off the pressure. They prove through their behavior that they can be relaxed and easy and non-threatening. But here's what that actually communicates to her psychology. It tells her that you also aren't sure. It tells her that you can be comfortable with uncertainty. And a man who is comfortable being indefinitely uncertain about his romantic future is a man who doesn't believe he deserves certainty. She will sense that. And it will confirm her hesitation rather than dissolve it. A man who knows his value doesn't audition for permanence. He offers himself once, fully and honestly, and he lets her decide. But if her decision is, let's see, then his decision should be, let me go. Now let's bring all 5 of these together because there is a pattern running through every single one of them. When she says, I've been fine on my own this whole time, she has already removed you from her emotional equation. When she says, you always make everything so complicated, she has stopped investing in understanding you. When she says, I think we want different things, she has already mapped out her future and you aren't on the route. When she says, I've been giving so much and I'm just exhausted, she is constructing the narrative that will justify her leaving. When she says, let's just see where things go, she is keeping you available while keeping her options open. Each of these sentences is a woman communicating in the only way she feels she can at that moment. Not always with cruelty, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with her own pain, but always, always with information. Information about where her heart is. Information about how she sees you. Information about the direction this relationship is actually heading versus the direction you've been hoping for. And here's the truth about what walking away actually does. Not for her, but for you. The moment you stop investing energy into a relationship that has already been quietly ended by her heart, something realigns inside you. You get your focus back, you get your confidence back, you get your time back, and you get access to the version of yourself that you've been slowly shrinking to fit into a space that was getting smaller. Men who walk away at the right moment don't do it out of ego. They do it out of intelligence. They understand that no amount of effort, patience, or love can reignite a fire in someone who has already decided to let it go cold. That's not pessimism. That's psychology. The most attractive, grounded, and genuinely powerful thing a man can do, not for performance, not to make her chase him, but for himself, is to look at the evidence clearly and choose his own peace over her uncertainty. Because somewhere ahead of that decision is a woman who doesn't make you wonder, who doesn't need carefully decoded sentences to figure out how she feels about you, who doesn't require you to love her quietly while she decides if you're worth the investment. She exists, but you'll never find her while you're standing in a relationship that already ended in someone else's heart. The 5 statements you just heard are not the end of the world. They are the beginning of your clarity. Use them like the signals they are. Hear them, believe them, and choose yourself every single time.